You're probably not going to watch.
Yeah.
Right on my face, and I wrote.
Might get like, crossing our fingers for now.
On the day of wonderful.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Politician goes on tip. Read my lips. Well, let's go back. Hey, how are you?
I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, but it won't take us for a while, so I'm going to go back and come back.
You got it all? Thank you. You know what?
Okay. I will call the Finance Committee to order. Filling in for the chairman, Rich Nicolello, is Howard Gopal. He is here. I am here as vice chairman. Rosemary Walker is here. Filling in for Donald McKenzie is Dennis Dunn. Delia DeRidge-Whitten, ranking member, is here. Laura Curran and Sula Bino is here. We have a quorum. First, I want to say I was not expecting to be chairing this meeting today. I feel a little bit like, I guess, Jimmy Garofalo filling in for Tom Brady. Rich Nicolella was not here. It is the budget time, a time where we normally go through the budget items. It's been the practice of this body for the past about 20 years to pretty much tee up the items and move them through committee to enable us to hold our budget committee hearings. We do have a budget committee scheduled for this afternoon, and eventually we will adopt the budget by the end of the month. I have spoken to the minority. The minority would prefer, I believe, to have each individual item called and put before us and ask questions of the individual items. If that is the case, then I would just ask that for all of those members of the legislature who would like to get answers to certain budget questions that would normally be asked at the budget committee hearing, if they would please come and join us on the dais so that everyone can kind of participate or hear the questions and answers of this committee. For those of you who would like to listen in the back, that's fine. But we would like to try and do this, and what we'll do is we'll incorporate the testimony that we hear during this meeting. We'll incorporate it into the actual budget committee hearing so that the testimony that's here will also be part of the budget committee, and we would hope to not repeat the questions and answers over and over in the various committees, but I know that anyone who has misses a question here can bring up another question during the budget committee. In any event, I would call item 388 of 2016, which is the 2017 proposed Nassau County fiscal year budget ordinance. Motion, please, by Mr. Copel, seconded by Mr. Dunn. The item is before us. I would, if you'd like, I'll just tee it up and move it through. Nothing that is passed here today, whether you vote yes or no, will be construed to mean that you are in favor of the budget or those items in the budget. We will just take that to be a vote to pass it through if that's what you want to do. If you want to ask questions of the specific items, then that's the way we'll handle it. So the item, calendar item 388 of 2016 is now before us. It's been moved and seconded. Does anyone have any questions on this item? Yes, Ms. Curran.
I just want to say, I know I'm relatively new. I'm in my third year here, and it does seem odd to me that we vote on these items in committee before we've even had the hearing. And I know that's what's done, but I just wanted to get that on the record. It just feels a little strange to me. And I wonder if anyone else feels the same way.
Yeah.
I can only say it's been the practice before, and that's why we're kind of, if we don't take testimony and we're kind of not voting on the individual item, we're just voting to move it to a place where officially we have a budget hearing where everyone participates. So
I get you, yeah.
Any questions of this item? If there are none, then we will basically tee this item up and the vote on 388 of 2016. All those in favor of moving this item on signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
The item passes 4-3. Next up is item 389 of 2016, which is the 2017 Nassau County Tax Levy Ordinance. Moved by Mr. Dunn, seconded by Ms. Walker. The item is now before us. We have any questions on this item? If not, then we are just merely teeing it up. All those in favor of 389, 2016, please say aye. Any opposed? The item carries 4-3. 390 of 2016 is the 2017 to 2020 multi-year plan resolution. Motion by Mr. Dunn, seconded by Mr. Copel. That item is before us. Any questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving this item on signify by aye. Any opposed? The item carries 4-3. Item 391 of 2016 is the 2017 Nassau County Legislative Budget Ordinance. Any questions on this item? I'm sorry, may I have a motion, please? By Mr. Dunn, seconded by Ms. Walker. The item is before us. Any questions? Actually, I apologize. Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving 391 of 16 signify by aye. Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. We now have a number of clerk items which deal with the various fees that are part of the proposed budget, either fee increases, new methodologies for setting fees. They're put before us today. Again, I would say that the members of this committee can ask questions on the individual items as I call them, or we can tee them up and move them through, and no vote to move these items through will be deemed to be a vote in favor of the particular fee, but merely will be in favor of moving the item forward so that it can be considered at the Budget Committee hearings and then eventually during the budget adoption. Would you like me to call individually? No, correct. Okay, let me call them. I will call them as I did the others. The first item is 392 of 2016, which is an ordinance establishing a fee schedule for county services for various county departments. A motion please by Mr. Copel, seconded by Mr. Dunn. If you'd like to have someone talk on them, we will call up Mr. Norton. Mr. Norton? The way I'll do this, I'll have the members of the committee ask questions first, and then we'll open it up to...
Good afternoon. Eric Norton, Deputy County Executive for Finance.
Do we have any specific questions with respect to 392?
If it's all right, I would just like a brief presentation of the item in your words.
Sure thing. Attached for your review is a list of various fees for the various county departments. We have set out a 4-year fee schedule to be consistent with the county's 4-year multi-year plan. We have looked to see ways that we could raise revenue because, as we will discuss in our budget presentation, we want to maintain the quality of services that the county has. So we have decided that in order to keep the same level of services, not cut any programs, we have gone through 7 years of efficiencies, reducing the size of county government, and we have saved the county tons of millions of dollars that we'll discuss later. So therefore, at this point, we felt that the only way to really balance the budget was through revenue. NIFR has requested that we come up with a balanced budget that's based off of recurring revenue. So that is what's before you, is a mechanism to fund county services.
Okay, on this particular item, I think we're going to reserve our questions for the budget hearing.
That's
Thank
fine.
you, Mr. Norton.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, any public comment? Yes, Ms. Meredith?
Fine.
being a Meredith Baldwin resident. Yes, with regard to, I guess, the 392 and moving down, does the public have access to this list of these proposed fees, or that's just for?
It's an individual item. You should have access.
I'm saying on 392. I'm talking about the ordinance established. I just heard Mr. Norton say that there was a list that was provided of the proposed fees, the 4-year fee schedule. Did I not hear that? I believe I heard it and I wrote it down. So just to remind myself that I heard that. So is that going to be part of the public documentation for those of us to kind of review this? I always love hearing that we're being saved tons of millions of dollars and so many people are still running out in the middle of the night. So is that a yes? Does the public have access, or no, we don't have access?
Yes, you do have access.
Okay, so how would I be able to get a copy of that?
You copy of
I'm not really on the committee, but we could give you a copy of the items, Meredith.
Okay. Okay. So with regard to that, now this is a projection that's going to have the revenue line, the projected revenue line is going to support what this entails? Okay. I gather when you talk about the budget, because unfortunately I do have to, you know, go and make some money to kind of address some of these increased fees that might involve me. So I'm asking, will the revenue line, is this a projected revenue line? Who in fact are what's the constituency that these fees are going to take into consideration? Are these non-residents of Nassau County, or are these additional fees on top of what county residents will already be paying on that alleged no increase in property tax?
Those fees, I mean, this is not a question and answer period, but those fees are those that if you use certain services, whether you're a county resident or not, you will pay those fees. If you, let's say if there's an increase in traffic or whatever that occurs, whoever runs afoul of that particular violation pays those fees. It's not a blanket fee among every member.
Well, that's what I'm trying to find.
It is, exactly. It's paid for the services.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get what is the baseline number of individuals that would be attached to this so that it becomes a revenue stream. A revenue stream is based upon a certain number of something paying or buying a certain number of the thing. So that's why I'm asking, how would this be construed as increased revenue or potentially new money that's not going to come from the taxpayers?
Expired.
I think my point was made. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Please come forward and identify yourself.
Hello. Hi, how you doing? My name is Alex Slacky. I'm here from AAA Northeast. Organization represents 5.1 million members region-wide, over 250,000 here in Nassau County. And I did want to wait till the end of the budget hearing, but in case I have to leave, I wanted to get on the record now that we strongly oppose the additional $105 public safety fee that's included in the county executive's budget. The point of that supposedly is to fund the hiring of additional police officers, and I have no comment on the wisdom of the police personnel. That's not my job. My job is here to give testimony about good public policy for transportation, and using traffic enforcement to balance the budget is simply put bad public policy. And I urge you all to reject this plan. The logic behind it is very, very unsound, essentially saying because we need to fight crime and terrorism, therefore an expired meter ticket should be $220. There's a million steps there that I'm not following, and I don't think most of the public is following either, to be frank. And these penalties is clearly not commensurate with the severity of the offense. I mean, a few minutes late, you forget to give the county a quarter, and then you're paying $220. I don't think that's right. And that's going to be a severe burden on low-income and middle-income Nassau County residents, which are the majority of people. I mean, there are 15,000 people who drive to work by themselves every day that live in Nassau County, and they make under $25,000 a year. That $105 fee is basically a day's pay for them. And look, if you break the law, you should get a ticket, that's fine. We still want to have a principle of proportionality, really. And we also want to make sure that the county is focusing on people who are endangering lives. 92 fatalities on the road in 2015, but this doesn't deter violations. This relies on them to fund the county's budget. That doesn't make sense. And TIFA, they make money on administrative fees. It costs them $16 million to run. They make $28 million on administrative fees alone, so it's not as if they need to fund their own services. They're already more than doing that. So, I mean, I would urge you all to please reject this proposed fee. I do think the voters will be very, and the citizens of the county are going to be very, very disappointed if this fee goes through, because we already saw, you know, it's the idea that we need this fee so we don't have to raise the property tax. I don't think that's fooling anyone. The majority of this is going to be borne by Nassau County residents. And in as much as it's not, it's certainly not a good precedent to...
Sorry, your time has expired.
Yeah, I'll just finish up. It's certainly not a good precedent to pawn off fees to other regions. Otherwise, I think most of you would, by that logic, not oppose a commuter tax imposed by New York City. So thank you for the opportunity to comment. And I look forward to continuing to discuss this with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving 392-16 on signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The item carries 4-3. 393-16 is a local law to amend the Nassau County Administrative Code and the miscellaneous laws of Nassau County in regards to fees payable to the county agencies and departments. Motion by Mr. Dunn, seconded by Ms. Walker. The item is before us. Does anyone have any specific questions on this item? Yes. Mr. Norton. Yeah, he just went out to the back. Let's just take a brief time. Here we go. Mr. Norton, 393-16, could you give us a brief overview?
So this item, it's taking out the revenue fees from the admin code so that we can pass the previous item that we just discussed as a one, essentially, omnibus fee schedule. If that makes any sense to you. See a lot of puzzled faces.
So what does it do? It basically
So it removes the fees that were in the admin code so that we can actually set up fees through the ordinance. And there's also some other fees, minor fees in there.
Any questions?
Well,
go ahead, Mrs. Solage.
thank you very much, Legislator Muscarella. Good afternoon, Mr. Norton.
Good afternoon, Legislator Salages.
The previous speaker, Mr. Slacky, stated that the public safety fee will be used to pay for police personnel. Is that correct?
The fee is going to be used in the police fund, so yes, it will help us to enhance public safety.
In what specific ways, please?
Well, I think everyone's quite well aware of what's happening worldwide and that the threat and security, our police department needs to protect its residents, the people that come to visit Nassau County. We do have the lowest crime rate of a lower suburban county. It's something that we want to maintain. So this 2017 budget allows us to hire additional police officers. We're increasing the sworn force by 150 personnel. We're adding civilian positions such as communication operators, police service aides. You know, we feel that if you talk to the residents of this county, public safety is the most important thing to them, and we feel that we have to find a resource to pay for it.
But residents here are paying the highest taxes regionally and maybe nationally. Wouldn't you think that public safety would be a priority and that the high taxes they pay would go automatically, firstly, to public safety?
As you're well aware, most of the taxes that any resident pays here is for the schools.
But just even with the county portion of your tax, you would think that it would be a priority to have it go directly to public safety first. So you're telling me that even with as much county taxes they're paying, there isn't enough money to provide support for our police officers?
That is correct.
I find that hard to believe, frankly speaking. Now, you said that you are using this to pay for new police officers in the police academy. Based on my calculations, I mean, just even with the $105 fee, that would only amount to about $8 million to pay for these new police recruits. Where would the balance of that, approximately about $45 million, go to specifically?
If you take a look at the entire police budget, you have anything from uniforms, the fuel for the cars, bulletproof vests, all operations
But
that
we provide
require.
bonding for the bulletproof vests. In fact, all our colleagues stood in support of that. So
You have to pay
what
that service
specifically,
on whatever you bond.
so will that service fee go to pay for overtime?
It's part of the total police revenue budget. It's not dedicated to any particular line item. It's going to pay for police services.
If I might, I mean, this is the difficulty in trying to do this way, taking individual items and questioning them and then getting into the budget itself as to how the budget operates. It becomes very difficult. That's why for the past years we have teed it up, and then at budget hearings we've had a macro view of everything. So I'd like to try and keep it with respect to each of the individual items so that we don't get into a whole discussion about...
As being an efficient manager, I understand your concern, but in a county plagued with smoke screens when it comes to budgets and all these...
Mr. Solage, I want to limit, I'm extended the courtesy to let non-members do this because you want to do this in a way that's not done before. And by doing that, we're not going to have commentary. And then if you want questions and you want facts and you want information, be happy to give you the leeway to do that. But we're not going to use this platform to pontificate about your feelings about the budget and smoke screens.
I'm not talking about feelings. I have to make a clear question, and he's evading the answer. I asked a clear question. Will it be used to pay for overtime? And he's refusing to answer that.
He has answered it to my knowledge.
Will it be used to pay for overtime, yes or no?
As I stated previously, it's a revenue source to pay for all police costs.
I'll reserve my questions for the future opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions?
So just a quick question about the, when people get a red light ticket, there's an administrative fee that they pay whether it's vacated or not. This $105 fee. Sorry?
It's a part of this item.
Is that 105 vacated if the ticket is vacated? Or is it like the administrative fee where it stays? I've had a lot of constituents ask me that question.
Please identify yourself for the record.
Dave Rich, Assistant Executive Director of Traffic and Parking Violations. When a ticket is dismissed, such as a red light camera violation, yes, all fees, surcharges, and fines are vacated or removed. Nothing is due.
And that would be the case if with this $105 fee should it pass, right?
That is correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
Any other questions? Yes, Ms. Birnbaum?
Yeah, just back to the public safety issue. I know public safety is really a prime concern to all of us, and back in May, there were many constituents and elected officials from my area who came to talk about reopening the 6th precinct, which had been shut for budgetary reasons, and I just wonder if we're raising all this extra money for public safety. Do you know that whether the reopening of the 6th precinct is part of that plan?
No, it's not.
Well, I think we've heard from so many people who think that's a key concern to public safety. I'm surprised.
If you would like to raise more revenue to do so, then please feel free to make that estimate.
I think the estimate I heard then is it would take $5 million, which I'm not even sure that would be the case, but that was what was given at the time.
Any other questions? Mr. Ridgeway?
know, what I'm concerned about is it seems that a lot of the fees are hitting the small businesses in Nassau County. And I know the IDA and everyone else really makes a big effort to try to have them come in. Have you taken a look at some of these fees as far as, you know, whether or not they would be considered an undue burden on certain small businesses?
When we looked at the fees that we proposed, we felt that they were all reasonable. We felt that a tax increase on the businesses would be worse for them. And as we'll go over in our presentation, we think that this is a prudent policy decision.
You know, it almost seems as if they're going to be carrying the large burden, which, you know, of course we don't want to impose a tax on the homeowners yet. If we really hit small businesses, it's a real, I think it's really going against what we're trying to do with creating jobs and all. When I was talking about, you know, a red light camera ticket will now be approximately $200. Do you know, for instance, the average homeowner's insurance, Nassau County rate would be about $1,000. So if you have one of you or your kids, if they don't stop long enough, or if there's, you know, any small infraction, that's like a 20% tax increase for the one ticket.
It is not a tax increase, it is a fee for violating the law.
Yeah, it's just, but it would be equivalent to about a 20% tax increase for the average home. One red light camera ticket.
It's not equivalent to a tax because this is something that you can avoid by stopping at the red light, not speeding.
No, I agree, and I'm lucky that so far none of my kids have had it, but it just seems that it's such a huge, yeah, I mean, it's more than, I don't know, I understand if you break the law, there should be a certain amount of a penalty, but to have it be that much is, I mean, that's really what the question is. I mean, is it a fee or is it a penalty?
It is called a public safety fee.
Right. I mean, that's really what bothers me. It's really not a fee. I mean, it's if, you know, if you know, break the law and go through red light, that's not really a fee. That's a penalty. I mean,
Semantics, but
well, yeah, that's the question. I mean, does Nassau County Legislature have the right to impose these new penalties? I mean, for traffic infractions, I think that doesn't come from us normally, though, as far as just the penalties.
As I stated, it's not a penalty, it's a fee. The county, if you need an
That you have
opinion,
to break the law to get. I don't know. I think we're stretching our authority there a little bit. And the alarm permit, that's also under this item. There's something called a reactivation, what do you want to call it, fee? Can you explain that to me?
ask us again in the budget hearing, we'll have someone here to address that.
Okay, yeah, it's still like, all right. Now, the transportation impact fee, do you want to just go over that also, if you don't mind, in your words?
Ken Arnold will testify to that.
Ken Arnold, Public Works. Any development or redevelopment of property that the county is part of the review process for that impacts county roads will include a fee for the trips to that property. It will help offset the county's current obligation for upkeep and maintenance associated with the county road, bridges, and drainage.
So this fee is going to be imposed whether or not the subdivision is granted or not, or how
No, only upon approval.
Okay. And we can waive the fee or any part of the fee should necessary improvements as determined by the commissioner be approved?
Again,
Is the fee, are we able to waive the fee? Is the commissioner able to waive the fee under her discretion?
I believe the wording is that we can ask the developer to do work in lieu of the fee, but no, we would not waive it. This fee is also very similar to a fee that's being done in Suffolk County.
All right, so each building permit and curb cut are now also going to be getting an increase in fee? Is that correct?
It all depends on trips. There are certain types of projects that will not get any fee. If it's a single-family home on a county road, the trips are below the threshold of having a fee. If it's a large supermarket or a large manufacturing facility, which has many trips, the fee will be imposed based on the amount of trips during the peak two-way hour.
So who's going to determine whether or not the fees are imposed?
The department will do that. It's based upon the submittal of the developer. They will determine, they will give us the outline of the project based on the traffic manual. There's a guidance on the number of trips, based on a facility that's being constructed, whether it's by square feet, by usage. The manual is quite extensive. The department will determine, working with the developer, what the most appropriate number of trips is, and then we'll impose the fee upon approval of the plans.
So you're going to be able to do this in-house without incurring any additional expense? Like, it seems like a lot to keep track of in your department.
No, we'll do it in-house with our people.
You don't anticipate it being an increase in your budget? Just keep track of all
It's
this?
very simple. I mean, the review of the plans is the more complicated part of the process.
So I guess we'll reserve any further questions for another time.
Any other questions?
Oh, Steele.
Mr. Abrams? Ms. Bynum?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to discuss this alarm permit reactivation fee, just for a moment. This was an existing fee, am I correct?
Yes, and we're trying to get someone here from the police department who can better speak to it.
Okay. All right, so let me know when that person arrives, because I have some questions.
Yeah, if we don't get an answer to that before we vote on this,
Okay,
we'll get the answer during the budget hearing, before the vote on the budget.
thank you. And then regarding the transportation impact fee, is that an annual fee?
No.
Ken is shaking his head no.
No?
One time.
It's a one-time fee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Karen?
I promise I'll be brief. How much of the property tax levy already goes to police, district, and headquarters?
Approximately 87% of the county's taxes
87% of property taxes go to those two, okay.
of the county taxes.
Of the county taxes, right. All right, thanks.
Mr. Abrams?
Thank you. Eric, I want to kind of focus on the public safety fee again. And I know legislators are interested in asking questions. And how did the county or the administration arrive at the 105 amount? Did they just take they wanted to be at 200 and they just took the difference?
No, we took a look at we take a look at first the expense budget when we determined the level of sworn officers that we wanted, the proper level of funding for overtime, termination pay, and all of the police costs, including hiring additional civilian personnel. We came up with the cost. We saw how much revenue we could generate from property taxes, and the shortfall is to be made up from the public safety fee.
So basically, you didn't take anything into consideration about traffic infractions or the adjudicating of traffic infractions. None of that was taken into consideration?
Well, no. So once we figured out the delta of how much revenue was needed, we took a look at how many tickets are actually paid for each year. We discounted that by about 13% and used that to determine the $105 fee.
So it wasn't based on the cost of adjudication of tip.
It is not a, it's a public safety fee, it's not a typical admin fee, it's a public safety fee.
The tip and admin fee that is in place, how does that amount to, again, how much?
That fee is $45 per ticket.
Okay. So explain to me the correlation between the TIPA fee and the cost of adjudicating traffic infractions at TIPA. If I'm understanding that correctly.
We take a look at what's the cost of the department, future costs, investments that are made in the department, outside overhead, and the county determine each, various times to change the fee. We started at $15, eventually went up to $30, and last year it was increased to $45 by this body.
1 second. So to me, it just seems to be a bit troubling that we're raising a fee that is tied to red light camera or traffic infractions, but we are not putting any enhancement into ensuring that that infraction would make our public safer.
No, what you are doing is you're hiring additional police officers, you'll have more cops on the street. We're patrolling every event. Right now with what's happening in the world, we have to patrol the train stations. I think you've seen something other.
How many officers give out tickets for red light cameras? Do you have that number?
I don't, but next week you are having the police department here. I'm sure they can provide more information.
Oh, the commissioner's right behind you. How are you, Commissioner? Perfect timing. We were just talking about the public safety fee and the need for the $105 increase, and I was asking Mr. Norton, how many tickets do we issue for red light camera infractions?
So police officers, I don't have the exact breakdown by summons violation. This year, the current trend, we're looking at issuing about 200,000 moving tickets. And then there's it's anticipated that approximately 100,000 parking tickets will be issued.
So moving tickets could be speeding tickets?
Moving tickets could be any category, and obviously I don't know the breakdown by category, but that's something we can pull out of the system if you like.
I guess what I was driving at, and I apologize, I know you walked in a little bit later, what I was driving at was that the need for the increase of $105 for the red light camera infraction, while at the same time we are not seeing an enhancement in the services for protecting the public from those infractions happening. So I guess what I'm driving at,
just to that point, legislator, that the summons activity in the police department, if you look at the trend over the last 3 years, every year has been rising by double digits. So to say that they're not getting enhanced service in a traffic enforcement area, which is a priority of the department, would not be an accurate statement.
How would I know if anything's going up? There's nothing here before us. You even said before that you only consider moving violations, not the red light camera. How would I know if they are going up? Because you just said on the record that you couldn't speak to red light camera infractions per se, only as a moving violation.
Yeah, no, what I said was, I can't speak to red light, but what I'm saying is that the total number of tickets has been increasing each and every year.
But additionally, so you're saying that red light camera is increasing?
I can't say that red light, I can't speak to red light camera that's handled by Nassau County Traffic. I'm speaking to the moving violations that the police officers write.
No, but again,
please excuse me, I misunderstand what you're asking.
No, that's quite all right, but that doesn't really help me in terms of what we're talking about. We're talking about the red light camera. So we're trying to figure out the association of the increase in the fee for an infraction, right? But we can't justify it. I mean, granted, when we bring you back for the police department, then maybe you'll have it by then. But I'm trying to figure out, at least come to grips in my head how we're raising a fee And I'm just trying to ensure that there is an actual public safety benefit for this fee. I understand what Mr. Norton had said, that the additional officers will be hired, but I would like to see that in the numbers. And how many infractions have been written for red light cameras in the past?
If I might, Commissioner, it's my understanding that what you're speaking about is a number of tickets that are given by police officers.
Yes.
And the red light cameras, since they're automatic and they go through TICPA, that those are not within the purview of the police department issuing violations out. So we want that information on red light cameras. We got to get it from a different agency. I don't think the commissioner has those numbers.
I'm not asking for red light cameras. I'm asking for how many summonses were issued for red light camera infractions from the police department. From the police. As opposed to the cameras.
Oh, as opposed to the cameras.
I think I can answer all the questions, whatever they are. And I won't be able to provide details on certain things. So in Nassau County, there are a total of 600,000 tickets issued a year, approximately. These are approximate numbers, of which 300,000 are attributable to red light cameras. Okay, 300 attributable to police officers writing tickets for parking and movement violations. That pool of 300,000, I can't give the specific breakdown standing here. We'd have to run reports to look at that. And if you would like that information, we'll be more than happy to provide it.
No, that's fair. I mean, but I just want to make sure we're clear on what I was asking for. So.
You got it?
Commissioner, I don't know if you're going to know the answer to this, but how much of the actual revenue from the $105 is going to go to the traffic enforcement for police officers for the adjudicating infractions at TIPA?
So all the money, the way this fine is set up, and not fine, the way this administrative surcharge is set up, all of that funding will go right to the police department's budget. So that $105 will go right to the headquarters and district funds of the Nassau County Police Department.
So all of it goes to the fund?
Right.
Okay.
So nothing goes to TIP, nothing goes to the state, nothing goes anywhere else. It is all going right back into public safety, that surcharge.
No. So can you break out how much of that revenue is actually going to go towards traffic enforcement?
The revenue the budget's not designed that way, as you're well aware. The budget's designed in such a way there's a revenue side and there's an expense side. And this will be on the revenue side. If you want me to calculate the total amount spent on traffic enforcement, we can come up with a very rough estimate for that, and we're not going to be able to do it here today. But keep in mind, one thing is that this is not a traffic safety fee. This is a public safety fee. And this money is going directly to public safety. If you go through the budget, there are significant increases to sworn headcount and critical civilian headcount, and within the budget that will enhance the safety. Additionally, it should be noted that the traffic enforcement has been a focus of the police department. Improving traffic safety is a focus, as well as here today. What we are talking about, and what the Deputy County Executive testified to a little while ago, was to be, we're living in difficult times. It is today the most dangerous times in this country, arguably since 9/11, and maybe even past that. And you start to look at what's going on, and you start to look at regular terrorist attacks. You start to look at being able to maintain the public safety here, being able to maintain the low crime here, without losing focus on terrorism. And that's what this is all about. That's what this entire budget is about. It's the last several years, we have cut the number of heads. And today, this budget does the exact opposite. It significantly increases the number of heads within the budget, which will significantly increase the public safety. And that's what that fee is for. And if you want to try to divide it, you and everybody, you are fully aware of the fact that the way our budgets work is not in that form. This is going into the revenue side, and the revenue will pay for the expenses. And,
If I may,
you know, I could say
oh, I'm
that,
sorry, go ahead.
if I could say that it's going to this or that, but it really isn't. It's going to go to the revenue side of the budget, and we'll be paying for the expenses.
So if I understand you correctly, and trust me, we appreciate your knowledge and direction towards combating terrorism, and we want to make sure all Nassau County residents are safe. But if I'm understanding this correctly, we're increasing a traffic enforcement fee to combat terrorism.
I just want to make sure that that's not what I said. There are a significant number of increases, and to give you an example, this year we, started the motorcycle platoon, which focus is traffic enforcement, traffic safety, and we will continue to strive to increase the safety on the roadways. What I said from the beginning was traffic safety is a focus, crime is a focus, and homeland security is a focus. They're all focuses. You can't distinguish where this particular money is going to because, as you're well aware, that we have a revenue side of the budget, and this money is going to the revenue side of the budget to pay for the expenses. We don't distinguish where the money goes on the revenue side. So the revenue accounts for fines and fees, it accounts for ambulance billing, services, it accounts for property taxes on the revenue side, as well as this new public safety fee that's being proposed for your consideration.
No, I think I get and understand that, but it just seems to me a bit disingenuous to raise a fee on a traffic infraction, and to me, the whole holistic way, if you really are trying to combat and make sure Nassau County residents are safe and the public is safe in regards to that, to me it makes better sense to ensure that we can guarantee that the revenue will be there to pay for the future expenditure. Right now, it seems like we are budgeting and hoping that people break the law to ensure we can stop people from any counterterrorism type of actions. I mean, that's what it seems like we're proposing. Am I wrong? Correct me if I'm correct. Please correct me. I hope to God that I am correct, but correct me.
I think that's the false way to look at it. I think it's very clear that, as the Commissioner stated, the number of summonses that they have been writing is increasing. We have increased the admin fee. People still break the law. We're not hoping.
But you're doubling the fee, Mr. Norton. I mean, this is incredible. You really believe people are going to still break the law through red light cameras at the same level for years to come to rely on this revenue? I hope not either, but it just seems to me that I just couldn't understand why we would be looking, especially as things as important as the Commissioner has identified, that are extremely important to all Nassau County residents in terms of counterterrorism actions and making sure the public is safe in regards to those efforts. Something that weighs so heavily in terms of its importance, we're hoping that we're able to generate the revenue from people running red light cameras. And
like I say, I think all of us would prefer that people do not run the red lights, that they stop at the lights, but just realize we have signs up that tell people where the cameras are, and they still break the law. We do everything we can to let them know, don't do this. We educate them, and they still do it. So we are recognizing the fact that behavior for some people will hopefully change, but others it won't. So based off of some analysis, we feel that there will be about 600,000 tickets issued, either red light cameras or summonses, times $105 will generate $64 million. However, if this legislative body wants to put in a different revenue source, understanding the importance of public safety, that is your prerogative.
Yeah, just a few more. Go ahead, Mr. Suarez.
Excuse me, NIFA constantly asks us about our backup plans for revenue in case that revenue is not raised. Let's just say people start to pay attention and they do not run the light, or they choose that, or they're so disgusted that they choose not to drive at all, and they choose to rely on our bus system, which is not the best. Then what do we do? What is our backup plan if we do not raise that revenue through this fine or fee, as you call it?
We have a $3 billion budget. The Office of Management budget, through the leadership of Roseanne DeLover, is constantly monitoring expenses and revenue. As you're well aware, monthly we produce a
revenue versus actuals, budget versus actuals. We have spending plans. We are constantly looking to see how we're doing. And as we need to make modifications throughout the year, we do so. So if the scenario...
So now you have no backup plan as of now?
Are we going through this again?
Yes. Yes, we are.
This spot, we react whenever there is a change. If there's a decision made to fight having BLTs, we respond to that. If we have a shortfall in sales tax, we respond to that. We look to cut expenditures. We look to reduce hiring when necessary. So,
but the shortfall in revenue after we disbanded the speed camera program caused financial issues for the county. If the public creates an outroar on this issue, as they did with the speed camera issue, what is our backup plan for that revenue?
Our job is to manage, and that's what we will do.
Thank you.
Mr. Ridgeway.
Thank you. Commissioner, maybe you could address this question. Just by looking at our charter and trying to figure out what body would basically control the traffic penalties, not the penalty, that's enforced by TIFA. Do you know who would control those penalties?
That's a legal question. I think it'd be more appropriate for one of the attorneys.
Is Judge Mark still here? Oh, hey, Judge, do you mind? Yeah. I mean, I'm always... Thank you.
John Marks, Executive Director of Nassau County Traffic Department. My mission is.
Nice to see you, Judge.
Oh,
Good. We're talking about the fact that people will not incur this expense should they not break the law. So logically, it's basically sounding more like a penalty than it's not just a regular fee that Carrie and I would just pay in our regular day-to-day life. It's only if one of us breaks the law that we're going to incur this expense. So the word penalty definitely seems to clarify this a lot clearer. Who would set the traffic penalties enforced by TIFA?
Who we set?
Is it the Board of Judges or District Court?
It's the New York State Legislature.
So it's not
various
Nassau
towns.
Right.
Board of Judges, it's Nassau County.
Nassau County Legislature? Yeah, because I can't find that in the charter, to be totally honest with you. Do you know what, just we're talking about penalties, do you know where that is in the charter? Do you know what section?
The Gerald Poplisek, the charter permits the legislature to impose penalties, either in terms of fines or in terms of imprisonment. But this is not a fine. This is a fee. And it is something that is only incurred if one breaks the law. It is not a fine.
Do you agree with that, Judge Mark?
Absolutely.
It sounds to me, though, you have to break the law in order to get it, which sounds like a penalty. All right, just so to sum up, is the correlation, come on, Ben, it's important. The correlation between the level of public safety fee and the cost of either the traffic enforcement or, like, there's really, it's hard to see what the correlation is. Do you agree with that, or?
If that's addressed to me, I can't answer that question. I don't have the expertise to determine where the money is going, what part of public safety. The commission said it appropriately, the revenue side and expense side, so I can't. I can't answer.
Just, Eric, if you don't mind, in our last budget, what we allocated to be coming in from red light traffic fees, do you remember that number?
I don't recollect the entire breakdown, but I think collectively TIFA is bringing in like $60 million in fines and forfeits.
No, but for the red light camera fees, what did we put for our budget for last time?
For red light camera
For last
fees?
year.
Like I said, I don't recall specific that line item, but overall it's approximately $60 million.
Roseanne, do you know whether that is, if I may jump in,
if that's within line of what was budgeted?
Yes, we're actually projecting higher, so even
For
though
red
we
light camera?
increased the admin fee last year from $30 to $45, the number of tickets that are currently being paid are up from the previous year into 2015.
The red light camera, the tickets have gone up?
Yes, it's outperforming. If you look at my last report.
Judge Marks, is that the information you have also?
Yes.
Yeah. So unfortunately, even though the admin fee was increased, the $15, it did not defray people from actually breaking the law.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Solage, quickly.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate that. Just I don't know if all these individuals are going to be here on the future. Commissioner, thank you. Our police officers work very hard. They patrol our streets. They put themselves in difficult situations. I admire them for their courage, and they do their job knowing that they drive through the streets asking, "Is that a potential crime?" But I feel that this fine or fee may create another incentive. It may create an incentive for police officers to see, hey, you know what? In addition to following the law, I want to make sure that there's enough money for other police officers. Don't you think we're engaging here in a slippery slope here?
No, I don't. It's police officers are never really in tune to the fines. As a matter of fact, in the department, we don't track where the summonses go to. So if a summons goes to a village, that fine goes to the village. So we're not tracking where the fines are going. Our police officers are motivated to write tickets by traffic safety and not by whatever fine the person may or may not pay. I would find it, I think our police officers are more professional than that. This is, a global picture. We have been working hard on improving traffic safety in Nassau County over the last 3 years, and every year those summonses have gone up. And there is, I don't think anybody here is going to question if people are violating the traffic law on the roads in Nassau County. It's probably the biggest complaint that we get in the department is about traffic conditions. From your office, I've received multiple complaints. So if the end result is that the police have less VTLs to write, that would be a positive outcome. And I think everybody can agree that there are plenty of people violating the law on those roads that aren't being issued tickets here in Nassau County. If you also look at tickets for our population relative to other cities and other places, they're probably on the lower side for the number of police officers we have. So,
I understand. And my last question, thank you very much, Legislator Muscarella. My last question is for Judge Marks. What happens if multiple persons cannot pay their fines? They have multiple tickets. What happens then? Do they end up going into our local correctional facility?
No. We try to consider their circumstance. We have a payout plan if they want to participate in it. The legislature allows for deferred payments. We deal with it as best we can. The alternative, of course, is don't collect it.
I understand. Thank you very much to the Commissioner and to Mr. Marks, Judge Marks.
Any other questions?
just to further that, Nassau County is very unique in that if you don't pay a fine in other jurisdictions, including the villages, they'll arrest an arrest warrant. Here in Nassau County, we do not issue arrest warrants for not appearing or not paying fines. So I think that's an important distinction between this municipality and other municipalities. Because, we have seen in this country where they've used imprisonment as, having an adverse impact on certain segments of the population. That cannot happen here in Nassau County, considering we do not issue arrest warrants for those that. I do understand there was also questions on the fines related to the alarms.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I know, yes.
Ms. Bynum?
Me? Thank you. One other point to the question that Legislator Solage just asked. Would it be appropriate for me to even think that they're gonna get a boot and tow if they don't pay the fee? Are these people that get referred to boot and tow?
Yes,
So there is a recourse.
there is a recourse if they don't appear, but as Judge Marks outlined, there is programs available as long as they don't go into a scofflaw. They can't not appear, but as long as they go, the judges take people's circumstances into consideration here in Nassau County, and they also take into consideration all the items that was brought up.
What is the timeline for one to become a scofflaw? Is it on the 31st day? Like, when's that happen?
Failing to answer, probably 60 to 75 days after the first return date. Become boot eligible, the 2 or more violations that you haven't responded to in 60 to 90 days after being notified on at least 2 occasions by traffic and parking violations agency and perhaps a collection company.
Okay, thank you. So my question about the alarm fee. Oh, you want to ask? Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Good afternoon.
So the question that I have regarding the deactivation fee, could you tell me what that expense would be?
That expense is related to those cases where somebody has their license or permit has been revoked, and it's basically in reaction to that. So if they don't pay their fines, they don't pay their fees in order to reactivate a alarm permit. It's been in there. I'm not even sure if it's been modified in this particular ordinance. It is modified.
It is
Tell me it is
modified.
modified. Yes, it is. But that's been there all along.
Yes, I realize that. I'm just trying to understand exactly what that fee has been modified to.
So there are occasions where businesses or individuals' residence goes into a stop response where they basically won't respond to those calls. In those cases where the people want to reactivate their alarm permits, they will have to pay that fee.
Yes, I'm trying to understand exactly what the fee amount is.
Oh. We'll get it for you.
Okay, and so the, I see that we're also increasing the fee for each time there is a false alarm as well.
The reactivation is $100, and yes, there is an increase in the false alarms. Using the same parameters that we've historically used, there is a penalty for false alarms at a certain point.
I thought the deactivation or the reactivation fee was already $100. Isn't it going up?
I don't think that was, that's why I'm saying I wasn't sure if that one was being increased.
If somebody could clarify that.
Yeah, no, he's looking at the legislation. It is 100, and I believe it was 100.
Because I believe that incurring costs, escalating costs on this particular fee is really, it's prohibiting public safety, and that individuals who are disabled, or whether they're a disabled veteran or just a disabled citizen or resident of Nassau County, may already find it really a challenge to pay the fee, and now we're going to increase the fee. I introduced some legislation a while ago that would address this issue for those particular class of individuals, of residents here, and it hasn't been called, and so now I find it even more troubling that it hadn't been called, but now on top of it, we're talking about adding fees on, to those particular individuals. And I find it to be almost encouraging people to not have alarms. And I think that it would be more of a public safety burden to the county if families or individuals do not have alarms, because then it could potentially result in a break-in and a more extensive investigation that would be costly, and more importantly that we'd be putting human lives and families at risk. So this particular fee, increasing it, I just really have a problem with it. And I'd really be interested to see what the deactivation fee is going from and to.
Okay, can I respond to that?
Yes.
Thank you. So, this has been a long-standing, it's evolved, the alarm permit program, over a number of years, probably dating back, I don't know if any legislators recall, but probably dating back, 10 or 12 years. And at the peak, the Nassau County Police Department responded to 140 false alarms. and we had 500 to 600 founded alarms a year. It truly is the only industry in the world that can operate with that error rate and survive. So we started implementing the fines, and there was a lot of discussion, a lot of debate, and at the end, the legislators saw fit to approving, and it sort of evolved, and the fines have increased over time. Well, today, since that started, despite the fact that we've significantly increased the fines over the years, we're now down to 60,000 alarms. And that's not the whole story. We're down to 60,000 alarms. And so we reduced the alarms by 80,000. And now what does that mean to the residents of Nassau County? What that means to the residents of Nassau County is they picked up, at no cost to the taxpayers, because people were abusing the alarm system, they picked up 80,000 hours of patrol for no cost. But it even gets better than that. So you cite that it's a public safety by increasing the fines related to the alarms. I would argue quite the opposite. So while we've reduced the police response to these alarms, we haven't had an increase in founded alarms as a percentage of the whole, number one. And over the last 10 years, we have saw a reduction of burglaries, probably in the neighborhood of 25+%. So we've increased the fines, we've picked up additional patrol time, and at the same time, using the very sophisticated intelligence-led policing model and the great work of the police in this Nassau County, we've reduced burglaries, which is the end result. What's the result? The result of the alarm is to reduce the amount of burglaries. So it's quite evident that the increase of the fines from virtually nothing to where we're at now has had no impact on public safety, and quite to the contrary, freed up resources which allowed us to use the intelligence-led policing models and use those resources very effectively and very efficiently and reduce the alarms. It's all part of the bigger program here. So while I would agree with the theory that you put forward, the evidence is quite to the contrary.
I hear you loud and clear, and while I agree that there should be a false alarm fee, because people would be a little lackadaisical in turning off the alarm and really misusing county resources, I just disagree with increasing the cost. But that being said, I would be interested to know if we have more families or homes now with alarms, because I don't know that having a fee, or I don't know that having the fee is there's any correlation to the reduction in actual thefts.
There's actually there's more alarms registered in Nassau County than we started the program. I mean, I gave the numbers.
Okay, so that might in itself be a deterrent.
Yeah, we have more registered permits, because what happens now is if you have an alarm that's activated and you don't have a permit in Nassau County, you're immediately fined. So you're immediately notified. So we have a better grasp of the alarms, which also works for the 911 system. Because when we get a call on an alarm and we have to put in all the information because we just don't have a permit number for the alarm company, that's time consuming, and that takes away the alarm operator's ability to answer other calls. By having that alarm permit in the system, everything's sort of pre-registered, they just punch it in and it's a lot quicker response.
Again, I'm not arguing about having a permit, I'm not arguing the fact of having false alarm fees. I'm arguing the point that the fees to me are just too high. And I don't see that there would be a correlation between having fees and having increased public safety to the degree that we've reduced the number of burglaries. I think that we need to, if we're going to try and hang our hats on some data, we need to know how many additional homes now have alarms. But I'd be interested to hear again the deactivation fee, what it is currently and what is proposed for the upcoming budget. Thank you, Commissioner.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Couple quick questions. Number one, does it go in your credit report if you fail to pay your fines?
Oh, sorry. The Nassau County, you're talking the police department fines?
Yes.
Yes. Nassau County Police Department has no relationship with any credit reporting agency.
Okay. And also, I know you're coming back to us, so I'm not going to give you a million questions right now. But
if you want to send them to me, I'll be all right.
Or I can just tell you, I know Minority Leader Abraham's asked for some data, so if you could bring that, that would be great. And I know this is not the time to talk about crime statistics, But I'd love to get into that as well, whether if it's year to date, and what the indices are and all of
It's
that.
great.
Okay,
We're
so
down
bring it on.
6.5% in major crime, and pretty much all categories are down, with the exception of grand larceny.
You don't have to get into it now.
I'll be more than happy. I really appreciate
You'll
that.
be more than happy, but we would.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry,
We can
legislator.
have fun next week with that. Thank
Oh,
you.
it's always good to talk about wins. Have a good day.
Thank you. Any other questions, any public comments?
Yes.
Ms. Meredith?
Where does one begin? I'm glad for the discussion, the discourse that always encourages me. My concern, and again, for those of you who are making these decisions, has to do with where we have these fees that are listed as it pertains to our veterans, our disabled residents, things of that nature. Again, a revenue stream is based upon a product and/or service and the customer linked to that. And I'm just not clear as to what is the anticipated revenue or profit that would be derived from these fees that are being imposed in terms of the numbers of those who would be participating. For example, the fee that's being charged for golf carts at Eisenhower Park for the veterans and the disabled, and Christopher Morley Park and things of that nature. Long Island, in terms of the design, in terms of being a location where our older residents and our veterans can come and enjoy the fruits of their labor, and they are also being taxed, so they're going to also be burdened. And I'm just trying to see where the sense of that is. Like, what is the percentage, the bump in the budget that's going to be so significant that they're going to be charged at all, but also to have an increase. And my other issue had to do with, I guess, when we were talking about fees and things of that nature, there was no discussion, I guess, in the budget hearing as it pertains to the fees derived from the DWI and DUI scenario. And again, as it pertains to veterans, and I posed a question at a previous meeting with regard to getting information about the Veterans Court in Nassau County and the specifics of the Veterans Court for Nassau County, because one of the areas that we wanted to make sure was incorporated in that for the compassionate care had to do with the DWI and the DUI component. And from my understanding at that point, when it was initially implemented, that piece was not included in that Veterans Court because of the quote-unquote loss of income to the county. So if someone at some point, again, I know I could just be talking and getting crickets, but at some point, if somebody could get that information to me, I would be greatly appreciative. I'm not really sure if I'll be able to attend these budget hearings, but I'm sure I will get whatever information that I need, or what is the latest scandal that's going to break in Newsday. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meredith. Any other public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor of moving item 393 of 16, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item carries 4-3. 394 of 16, a local law to amend the Nassau County Administrative Code in relation to facilitating the chargeback of expenses of the Board of Elections. Motion please by Mr. Gopal, seconded by Ms. Walker. The item is before us. Quickly. Just a quick explanation of this.
All right, the law allows us to charge back a portion of the expenses to the towns and the cities for expenses related to the Board of Elections. We are required asking the Board of Elections to supply their data, and then we budgeted $2 million as a chargeback.
And this is when they are running elections for their own particular jurisdiction, correct?
No. I'll prefer to let the attorney speak to this.
It's for all elections, general or special or primary in the county.
So if there's a presidential election coming up.
Correct. Well, it would be this year, it would be starting.
Well, I understand, but let's do with the presidential election.
Right.
The machines go out.
Right.
We're proposing to charge the school districts for the use of those machines?
I don't know if school districts are in there. I think it's just towns and villages and cities.
That's ridiculous.
And state law permits this?
Yes, it does. It's a local option that has to be enacted by the local legislature.
And how do we determine the proportion of the charge back to the various entities?
Well, we didn't want to burden the municipalities with this, so we chose a small amount, being $2 million. And I think the plan is that it will be based off of assessed valuations, and will be how we will prorate the expense.
The current expense for the Board of Elections is over $30 million. So $2 million of the 30 is, negligible.
I understand. And is there any way to recoup, let's assume we're giving machines to a school district for a school board election?
Currently, they do pay for use of small incidental use, but the actual machines, the current new computers and scanners that are currently used in elections are very costly. They're costly in terms of warranties and in terms of battery life as well.
And the ballots that you're required to print, and the number you're required to print. So this is just a general allocation of money of a chargeback just for running general elections. Because the county runs the election, it's felt that other municipalities should join in the expense of running elections?
That is correct.
Okay. Any questions? Ms. Curran?
Thank you. So I understand that the BOE, the Board of Elections, did not actually request this, and that there is documented bipartisan opposition to this chargeback initiative.
That's an accurate statement.
Okay, thank you. And further, the Board of Election did an analysis that showed, according to them, that there's no legal basis for chargebacks for a couple of reasons. Because the county actually never did charge for this in the past. We never had charged the cities or towns for this.
While they may have good lawyers, the only attorney I listen to is the county attorney.
Well, that makes sense, yeah. I mean, that's your job. But the tricky part of this, if there is a legal question, doesn't it seem risky to put this in the budget if there's this sort of outlying legal question that's not yet resolved?
The only legal question is in their mind. We feel that we have the ability to do this. The Board of Election, they like to spend money, so now we're telling them, give us the data so we can help make back some money.
The other thing I would want to add, this is for towns, villages, and cities, but if I understand this correctly, villages do their own. We already rent them, the machines for the villages, so this would just be for towns and cities, I would imagine, right?
That's only for their own elections. This will be for the general primaries and the special elections.
I see. It also seems, just back to this legal analysis, and maybe this is not the time to talk about this, but I do want to put this on the record, that it's based on the word previously, that we previously got from towns, villages, and cities. But this is one of the few counties in the state that never actually did charge in the past, so we never previously did. So it's like, it depends on what is. In this case, it depends on what previously is. So this, it seems to be a pretty substantial question that's not resolved. It could remain unresolved for a while.
Oh, I disagree. I think it's actually fairly straightforward. The county's responsibility for the ownership of the machines dates to 1976, when it was in fact enacted by the state legislature, and the ownership was given to the county of the machines. And it was also given to Suffolk and to Monroe County. It was only in 2005 when this particular legislation that allows the chargeback was enacted, was the ownership of the machines given to the other counties of the state of New York. Also, the particular piece of legislation from 2005 amended the section of the election law that made the expense of the machines a county charge, and specifically eliminated it. And the analysis of that is if the legislature eliminates a prohibition, that means that the prohibition no longer exists, and the county now, at this point, can charge back for the cost of machines.
Okay, all right, and then where does the $2 million figure come from?
As I stated earlier, we did not feel it was right to burden the municipalities with a huge dollar amount, so we figured we, as Roseanne stated, their budget is over $30 million.
Right.
So we said a small fraction of that would be reasonable.
Okay, all right.
And also just to add, this has been in our county's multi-year plan as an option for a few years now. So that's why the research has been done. It's been thoroughly vetted by the county attorney's office. So it really should not have been a big surprise to people that eventually we would be doing this.
Okay. I'm just concerned that it's risky. It could be risky revenue. Thanks.
If NIFA determines this to be risky revenue, is there a backup plan as to how we can raise this revenue?
NIFA can determine anything to be a risk, but the first hurdle is having this legislature approve the item.
I understand, but
Mrs. Elijah, you really answered this question before. You have income, you have expenses, and budget is not set in stone, and as the management goes forward, if income is down, it needs to manage its expenses and deal with it accordingly. That's what budgets are.
Thank you, Legislator Muscarella. One more question. You said that you only spoke to the county attorney on this. Was there any discussion with the town attorney for the town of Hempstead, North Hempstead, or Oyster Bay?
Why would I have to consult with them?
Perhaps a possible impact study. They're operating under a 2% tax cap, and this would probably cause them to pierce that.
Do you recall the state asking us for the impact of things that they do to us?
Just, I'm not going to get into that, but okay. I think that we hold ourselves to a higher standard. But again, have there been any discussion with the town as to a possible impact study?
I think my answer is no.
Okay. Nothing further, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Bynum.
Thank you. So I suspect that we're opening ourselves up, we're exposing ourselves to litigation on this matter, but I guess time will tell on that. But regarding how you arrived at this $2 million number, so you said basically there's an increase to the budget for this department, so you're going to pass that expense on to the other municipalities. But I would think that even if, and you stated also that you didn't want to overburden those municipalities, but I would think that you would have to in some way demonstrate the actual expense that would be borne to the process. And then if you wanted to then discount it, then we could discount it. But I don't think that we can arbitrarily just come up with this $2 million figure and then want to pass it on to municipalities. I would think that there needs to be a more concrete methodology to arriving at the figure. I think that that's going to be something that's going to be required of us when we end up in court.
I think in that case, then we should probably charge more.
Well, Ms. Bynum, it is what it is. Whether if it's a question of law, and we're going to put it in the budget, then we understand that there's a possibility that there's a problem with it. If the county executive is convinced that he is within firm footing, then we'll go forward. We'll pass it, we'll not pass it, we'll deal with it.
My point was to make it on the record that I think that that's the appropriate way to handle business.
I'm not arguing. That's fine.
Thank you.
And Legislative Binder, we can afford you basically the historical increases for the Board of Elections alone by themselves can substantiate a $2 million increase.
What I'm saying is that we want to pass on an expense. I think that there should be some requirement for the county to demonstrate how they arrive at a number.
I agree.
That's my point.
I'm saying
Thank you. Not what their budget line is, what the actual expense for the activity is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving this item 394-16, please say aye. Any opposed? The item carries 4-3. 395-16, a local law to amend the local law to amend the county government law of Nassau County in relation to the medical examiner. Motion by Mr. Dunn, seconded by Ms. Walker. The item is before us. Do we have any questions on the medical examiner? We do. Mr. Norton? Do you have any information on the medical examiner?
Yes, we're asking for a fee of $80 on the cremation services. Suffolk County currently has this revenue source, and just looking at ways to recoup some of our costs, we felt that this was a reasonable revenue.
So this is for unclaimed bodies, right?
For the cremations, yes.
Yes. How do we go after who is responsible for an unclaimed body if they're not being claimed in the first place?
What I have been advised by the medical examiner is that certain people, when they find out that the body can be disposed of at no cost to them by letting the county dispose of it, do not claim bodies.
So it's not that we don't know who is responsible for it, we just have no ability to, or we haven't been able to collect.
Right, and we actually haven't charged them.
Okay.
And so I'm assuming just from looking at the budget item that it's going to add about $200,000 into the ME's revenue, is that correct? Okay. And is there, how often does this happen that we do have unclaimed bodies? Yeah.
I think it's about 2,600.
Wow. Okay. And do we have resources? Do we have people to go out and look for relatives and responsible people? How do we locate them? I know that maybe people like cremation, but
I think these are individuals that are associated with families, so they are being charged to a particular family.
Oh, but the family's just not paying? Is that what it is?
There isn't a fee for the service currently.
Right.
So now they are cremating the bodies, and now they're charging for that cremation.
But what if the body's not claimed? What if they don't know who the family is? Is there an investigator?
No, I think this is in terms of bodies that are claimed. I don't think it's unclaimed bodies.
But I'd be curious to know more about this. It's very interesting.
If nobody claims a body, we're in no less a position than we are now.
Right.
We're not charging.
Right.
So we're going to cremate them and not charge anybody because there's no one to charge. If there is a family to charge, we're not going to charge them for
Because I would think that it would cost some money to track them down.
Right.
Unless I'm missing something here, which may
No,
very well be the
I
case.
completely agree with you. I believe it's a fee for service
Right.
that is currently being performed.
So this net 200K, it would be net
Yes.
of when everything's, okay. Did the ME's department participate in this? Did they ask for this? Or is this coming from above?
It was my idea.
Can we call you the Grim Reaper?
I've been called worse, I'm sure.
Okay. Oh, yes, the language is for unclaimed bodies.
Yes.
So it is for bodies, I mean, I'm just thinking of some poor soul who has died, who has no family.
Having no family is different from an unclaimed body.
Right.
If somebody is a relative of mine, take them. I'm not claiming them.
Right.
But they know who it is.
But okay, so it is known
And
who
they
it
want
is,
the money.
so they can be tracked down and charged.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Correct.
Okay, and so there's no investigator that's going out that we have to pay from this 200,000 that would change the amount?
No, as Roseanne stated, no, we've been providing the service at no cost. Now we decided we should charge for it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Any public comment? Thank goodness. All those in favor of moving 394 of 16, I'm sorry, 395 of 16, please say aye. Any opposed? Nay. That item is reported 4-3. 396 of 16, local law amend the administrative code of Nassau County in relation to penalties on delinquent taxes. Motion please by Mr. Copal, seconded by Ms. Walker. The item is before us. Mr. Norton. What do we pay? What's the penalty now in delinquent taxes?
Currently, the penalty is 5%, and this will increase it to 6%.
And then it's 1% per month, is that?
That's not, that remains.
That remains, okay. Any questions? Any public comment?
Actually, I do have.
Ms. Meredith.
Gotta stretch the legs once in a while. Rita Meredith, Mr. President. With relation to this and with the previous passing of that item 409 with 100 Main Street in Hempstead, aside from the penalties, what are the, what's being put in place so that we don't have another situation where you have a building or structure that's going to potentially owe the county millions of dollars in, in unclaimed taxes? You're posting a penalty, okay, great, but if they couldn't pay to begin with to become delinquent, what are we doing initially to either work with that entity or to try to address that issue so it does not become extensive and then get to the point where, again, it is offset by the county taxpayers? I'm just curious as to what's the platform in place, if any.
Ms. Meredith, in this bill, in this budget bill, there is nothing that addresses what you're asking. This is merely to increase.
So this is just really as far as increasing it as a potential revenue stream?
That's correct. That's what the budget hearing is.
Okay. But to have the actual parameters as to, again, what questions were asked earlier, like what was the genesis for the increase in itself? Is it just because we want to use this to potentially raise more money, or we're using this as prevention, or what? I mean, it's still questions that those of us who are taxpayers that have to kind of support this need to know, because you have a lot of residents who have commercial properties that, will have to potentially face this if their taxes are delinquent. So,
what is happening here appears to me to be the administration making a decision that because revenue needs to be enhanced, they can raise taxes, they can raise fees. It appears that they are primarily raising fees so that those residents that you're talking about who can't pay their taxes, who then are delinquent, pay a fee. That fee is going up.
Right.
The fee is not going up for the taxes itself.
Okay, it's going up for the delinquency fee.
That's correct.
So the delinquency fee for the taxes
that are not paid
are going up. So the ones that have left town altogether with these delinquent taxes as well, then who becomes responsible for that? Or is it
Eventually
just
the properties get sold in tax lien and those monies get paid back.
And all of this is part of this new plan that...
This is not part of the new plan.
I mean, this is part of these are the proposed budget items that are going to, again, reduce maintain a hard line on property taxes and save money for the county.
Again, what this bill does is it raises the penalty from 5% to 6% on a delinquent tax.
Okay.
Any questions? All those in favor of moving this item signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item carries 4-3.
4-2.
I'm sorry, 4-3. I'm sorry, 4-2. 4-3. Good. Thank you. The next item 397 of 16 local law amending Title B, Article 2 of Chapter 5 of the Administrative Code of Nassau County. Motion by Mr. Copal, seconded by Mr. Dunn. The item is before us. Mr. Norton, you want to?
Good afternoon, Beaumont Jefferson, Treasurer. The item before you is a proposal to change the auction that we currently do, which is an in-person auction, to an online auction. The online auction would be done on one day versus our current auction, which is held here in the Legislative Chamber for 4 to 5 days.
If I might just stop you, what type of auction are you talking about?
This is a tax lien auction.
Okay, thank you.
Tax lien sale.
Do we have, and okay, Ms. Curran.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, this appears to accomplish two things. It allows tax liens to be auctioned online. Is
Yes.
that right? And it also allows them to be bundled for sale.
That is correct.
And what's the benefit to the county that come with these changes?
With these changes, what we currently have is a auction that requires us to set up the chamber. It takes us about 4 days to auction in person. If we do it online, we can do the auction within 1 day. We can increase the number of participants in the auction, which will then reduce the current interest rate that we pay to the auctioneers.
Great. Thanks.
And I guess you free up some manpower too during that time.
That is correct.
Ms. Ridgeway.
Do you have an estimate of the cost of implementing this program online?
Yes, well, we have a current estimate, there would be development costs of approximately $67,000. However, we currently pay an auctioneer $24,000. That's just the auctioneer to sit here and auction over 5 days.
Okay, so so you're anticipating $1.5 million increase on this?
Yeah, the income that we expect to receive on this is approximately 1.1 million. We also have some expense reductions associated with the lien auction.
And that income is attributable to what?
Can you repeat that, please?
The income that you're talking about is attributable to?
Yes, the additional revenue will be derived by, one, reducing the rates that we currently pay investors, and also we should be able to sell some of the properties that currently come back to the county that are not bought by the local investors.
Because they're bundled?
No, not because they're bundled.
Because they're just up to a larger pool.
We're just opening up to a larger pool. There's approximately about $1 million that the county buys back because they're investors who don't purchase those. We expect to sell those online, and we would also reduce the what we call a differential interest rate.
The $67,000, is that a one-time fee or is that going to be annual?
No, that's a one-time development fee.
Have you studied any other municipality or county that that switched? Like, do you know if it increases this much normally, or the revenue?
Well, we looked at other counties. There are none in the state of New York currently, but Arizona, Florida, all their lien sales are done through online.
And there's this much of an increase from this year that they do it in person and then going to online?
Well, the increase that we're looking for is really to sell the liens that we're currently not selling. So by opening up that pool, we will have the liens that the county currently retains. Those should be sold, and we should also be able to reduce the interest that we pay, the differential interest that we pay to lien buyers.
I know now. I'm sorry. how does that work with, I know a portion of the bid has to be deposited prior or something. How is that going to work online?
Online, currently, we accept the bids on the same day. When the lien buyer attends the auction on the first day, we ask them for a deposit, and we continue to ask them for a deposit over the 4 days before the sale actually begins. Online, you would have to make a deposit the day before. So the money would have to be wired into one of our bank accounts the day before the auction. Also, just to give you an idea of the number of liens that we sell approximately 40 to $50 million in liens a year. So this is just this 1.1 million is an incremental increase. Small.
And just real quick, but can you just explain how the bundling of the taxes is going to help raise revenue?
Well, for some liens we should be able, that we can't sell, we should be able to then package those and make them more attractive to an investor who may want to actually purchase one lien, but by bundling it, we can actually ask them to purchase some liens that may not be necessarily attractive to them.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions? Any public comment?
Yes.
Ms. Faraday?
Mina Maraday, Baldwin Restaurant. I'm just concerned with regard to the security aspect of this, kind of background checks, credit checks, accessibility for those who are not necessarily online or savvy to that, just kind of limiting the reach. I guess, when you're talking in those types of arenas, it is a selective pool, but I'm still really concerned as we talk about obvious potential threats, but we still forget that the financial component of terrorism is equally as terrifying, and it's something that we need to get a better handle on in terms of what we're putting out there and who in fact is actually bringing their money into our county. We can't be that desperate to get funding because we're trying to make up for shortfalls or for programs that didn't bring in the projected revenue as they were supposed to in the past, and just jump on anything that's out there like spaghetti. You just kind of throw it on the wall and see what sticks. So I would just be concerned, and again, if this is just a budget item and you're going to vote for it anyway, I would hope that someone would be asking the question at the opportune time with regard to the credit checks, and saying that this is something that works in Florida and Arizona. That really doesn't give me too much comfort. Just saying. Thank you.
So noted, thank you. Any other public comment? Ms. Carroll.
Have we charged a fee for tax lien certificates in the past? Or is this a new fee?
We implemented the fee last year. Last year was the first year that we implemented the fee for the certificates.
Okay.
All those in favor of moving this item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item carries 4-3. The last, I think, budget fee item we're talking about is item 398 of 16, a local law to amend the Nassau County Administrative Code in relation to providing greater protection to Nassau County consumers. Motion by Ms. Walker, seconded by Mr. Dunn. That item is before us. Who do we have with us? President?
Yes, this is basically a fee increase proposed by the Department of Consumer Affairs for a whole host of items that they monitor on behalf of the constituents in Nassau County.
Do we have questions? Yes, Ms. Curran.
Do we know how many complaints have been received by Consumer Affairs or by the administration vis-a-vis dog grooming establishments, health clubs, and I think even more interestingly to me, tax assessment reduction services?
Madeline Farley, the Commissioner of Consumer Affairs, proposed these fees because of the complaints that she has. I don't have the number of complaints with me, but we can get that information. But in areas for sure, in terms of health clubs and pet groomers, I know that that was a main proponent of that being a suggestion. But for tax grievance and that assessment component was proposed actually by Assessment Review Commission because of misfilings in terms of tax certiorari grievances.
Okay, yeah, I would be interested to know the numbers if they're gettable.
There's another aspect to it, too. There's been a tendency in the past for overcharging of consumers for very basic services like filing a STAR application or an enhanced STAR application, which would normally take maybe 5 minutes, and there have been instances noted where they have to charge $1,500 for that. This would limit their possible charge to $25. So that's a direct benefit to the consumers. Also, there is some question of certain individuals who are setting up these organizations in order to fly under the radar as far as any other kind of regulation or control. I'm talking about people who would normally be attorneys who do tax certiorari business, and they set up these tax rep companies, and they're not otherwise controlled at that point. So that's a major aspect of this legislation.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Bynum.
In regards to the pet groomer, do we know, are they regulated in any kind of way?
There's actually very little regulation in terms of New York State for both pet grooming, health clubs, and or tattoo parlors actually. So they're not really regulated. So therefore, this was something that Consumer Affairs felt they needed to impose.
Similar to the tax assessment, will there be some real direct benefit by imposing this licensing fee in the sense that I think you said that there would be a restriction as to how much each tax assessment entity could charge a residential homeowner for the service? Is there some other?
In terms of regulating fees for service, in terms of pet grooming, no. Like for example, for health clubs, in terms of consumer protection in regards to contracts that people sign for health clubs and membership, the health clubs would have to basically give over their contract for the health club to the Consumer Affairs Department and be regulated that way, so they can actually be a proponent for the constituent to make sure that the terms and conditions of the contract are feasible for or protect the consumer.
Okay, and for the pet groomer, they're not going to
regulate the price fee for service. They're going to regulate in terms of complaints and register the pet groomers, so that if there are issues, they can actually rescind the license or rescind the registration, and perhaps actually put together a website in terms of, beware.
So there won't be any requirements for the space in terms of occupancy of animals or ventilation, or there won't be anything to that?
Not in the legislation.
Thank you.
Mr. Abrams?
Thank you. I guess this is more for the county attorney's office. In our reading of the New York General Business Law, which we believe is part of the New York State Health Club Service Law, it indicates that the political subdivision, otherwise authorized, may enact a local law identical to the provisions of this article to enable a local enforcement of provisions of this article and such local law. Any local law not identical to the provisions of this article, or with any rules or regulations hereunder, shall be preempted, superseded, and or no force or in effect. From our reading of this law, it appears that ours is not identical to the state law.
We believe that the law is in accordance with the New York State law.
But it indicates that the law needs to be identical.
We believe that the law comports with New York State law.
Is it identical?
We believe that the law comports with New York State law.
You're not going to answer the question.
I answered the question.
He answered it his way.
I mean, it clearly states here that it needs to be identical.
I'd like to say Abraham, we're going through reviewing all the fees, so if you're accurate, then we'll make the proper modification.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we would ask that the administration look into the issue that's raised by Mr. Abraham.
And we will.
Any other questions? Ms. Deridge-Witt.
Thank you. Regarding to the tax assessment people or tax grievance fees, are these fees going to also be charged to like the larger law firms that handle the tax grievances?
The county cannot regulate attorneys. This is for the representatives who handle matters for residents. The idea is to protect the consumers who are the homeowners in Nassau County. The law firms work primarily for commercial outfits, and they are regulated by the state of New York.
Okay, so any tax grievance company that is affiliated with an attorney or an attorney's office will not be...
That's not what the language. That's not what the language says. The language says that it is not that if it is being regulated and the individual, the client, has engaged an attorney as an attorney, then it is not regulated by this. If they've been engaged if they have been engaged a firm that might have some kind of contact with an attorney, but the business of the tax rep firm is not under the control of the legal ethics or any of the other legal disciplinary matters, it would not be coming under this particular legislation. It's got to be a tax rep firm.
Okay, so the local law is stating that the assessment roll will now be the intellectual property of the county, and to restrict the publication of such information for commercial use. Are we allowed to make such a change?
Yes.
Do you have any concerns of it affecting the First Amendment issue?
None.
I wish I was, never mind. All right. I beg to differ. I think we're sort of maybe overstepping on what we can do legally by just restricting this information that used to be public use. But all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Any public comment? Ms. Marinette?
Okay, as it pertains to protecting a consumer, how are the consumers themselves going to be notified? Is this a fee that's going to be specifically geared to the individual companies, or is this based upon, so in essence, just so I'm clear, the consumer has to get and have an issue with one of these types of companies and then contact consumer protection, and then they're going, I'm trying to understand how the consumer is being protected.
Once you have a license or you pay a fee,
right?
When a consumer has a problem, the consumer can call Consumer Affairs, and they are then within the jurisdiction of the Consumer Affairs Department to be able to call them in for a hearing or a discussion or try and resolve it. Many times, you get a consumer that calls Consumer Affairs and they say, I'm sorry, we don't have any jurisdiction over them. We don't license them. We don't have any ability to call them in. Your only recourse is with the courts. Here, once they're paying a fee to the Department of Consumer Affairs, when a consumer calls Consumer Affairs, they then have the authority to call them in to to try and resolve an issue before it goes to court.
So as far as you know, there's no part of this fee that's going to be used towards consumer education that would protect the consumer before they actually get messed over their money before they, I'm just asking.
I can't say
You
it's
can't say that.
specifically targeted to that. I can only say that again, it's revenue.
This is just a built-in, okay. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving item 398 of 16, please say aye. Any opposed? The item carries 4-3. Next up, I think we finished those items that are particularly deal with the budget. And we'll now move on to the rest of the Finance Committee, and would ask that those members who are not members of the Finance Committee please refrain from asking questions. Okay, next up is item 406 of 16. A resolution authorizing the county to implement the program of projects funded by the state mass transportation capital program and to advance such funds required to be advanced by the county, the state of New York to implement such program and to authorize the county executive to execute any and all agreements and other documentation necessary to implement the program. Motion by Mr. Copel, seconded by Ms. Walker. The item is before us. It passed through Public Works Committee. Do we have any questions on this item? Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving item 406, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item carries unanimously. I'm going to skip over 407 for a while, and I'll call it in a few minutes. Item 408 of 16 is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute a grant agreement between the County of Nassau acting on behalf of the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Museums and the Franklin Square Historical Society. Motion by Ms. Walker, seconded by Mr. Copel. The item is before us. Any questions on this? Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving item 408, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item carries unanimously. Item 409 of 16, an ordinance making certain determination pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and authorizing the county executive of the County of Nassau to accept on behalf of the County of Nassau an offer of purchase from Namdor Realty Group LLC of certain premises located in the incorporated village of Hempstead, town of Hempstead, County of Nassau, state of New York, said property known as Section 34, Block 333-03, Block 2, on the land and tax map of the County of Nassau, and authorizing the county executive to execute a deed, contract of sale, intermunicipal agreement for mortgage and tax payoff and all pertinent documents in connection therewith to consummate the sale and vacating and canceling all county-held tax liens and any and all tax obligations not yet ripe for lien status related to such property. Motion by Mr. Dunn, seconded by Ms. Walker. The item is before us. Do we have somebody to report on this? This deals with 100 Main Street.
Yes, good afternoon, legislators. Kevin Walsh, Office of Real Estate. This is the sale of 100 Main Street in Hempstead. It's a couple of matters. It's a contract of sale to sell the property. It was sold to through an RFP. Actually, 2 RFPs were issued for this. In addition to the contract to sell, there's an intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Hempstead to disperse the proceeds of the sale, which will go first to pay off the outstanding Section 108 loan, which has been in foreclosure for quite a few years, or working through that, and also to pay the county closing costs in connection with this, and then anything remaining will go to taxes between the county and the village, 57% to the county, 43% to the Village of Hempstead.
And basically what we're doing is we're putting this property back on the tax rolls.
Correct, and we hope that we have a contract with no conditions. We hope to close in October.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Bynum.
I would just ask that we incorporate the transcript from the planning committee into the finance.
So noted. Thank you. Any other questions? Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving item 409 to 16, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item carries unanimously.
Thank you.
We incorporated by reference the prior testimony. Item 411 of 16, a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute a license agreement with the Oyster Bay Water District in relation to the use of a water tower located at Plant Number 5, Schoolhouse Place, Oyster Bay, to install, maintain, and operate a countywide public safety radio system. Motion by Mr. Copel, seconded, motion by Ms. Walker, seconded by Mr. Copel. The item is before us. We have Mr. Sarandis.
Yes, this is a renewal of a license agreement that was executed and entered into in 2005 between the county and the Oyster Bay Water District for the placement of the public safety radio system, which incorporates radios of the police, public works, Homeland Security, and other county public safety agencies. Like I said, this agreement was entered into in 2005, it expired in 2015, and this is a license agreement under the same terms and conditions that of the 205 agreement to have another 5-year with another 5-year extension to maintain the radio system at the water tower located on Schoolhouse Place in Oyster Bay, owned by the Oyster Bay Water District.
Any questions? Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving this item 411, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item carries. At this time, I'm going to ask for that. That concludes the regular calendar other than one item. And what I'm going to do is now ask for a motion to suspend the rules. Moved by Mr. Copel, seconded by Ms. Walker. All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye. Okay, and I will call on the amended, the supplemental calendar, the addendum. Clerk item 303 of 2016, which is a resolution authorizing the county attorney to compromise and settle the claims of plaintiff Jonathan P. Wharton, as set forth in the action titled Jonathan P. Wharton versus the County of Nassau, Nassau County Sheriff's Department, Elizabeth Lucasolo, Captain Peter Dudick, Captain Anthony Zuaro, Gerard Humphreys, and Mary Elizabeth Osterman, docket number CB10-0265-JS, pursuant to the county law, the county government law of Nassau County, and the Nassau County Administrative Code. I will also call the item on the regular finance calendar, item 407 of 16, which is a resolution authorizing the county attorney to compromise and settle the claims of plaintiff Carl Raschenbach, as set forth in the action titled Raschenbach versus the County of Nassau and the Town of Hempstead, index number 10975/2010, pursuant to the county law, the county government law of Nassau County, and the Nassau County Administrative Code. Motion by Mr. Copel, seconded by Mr. Dunn. Those two items are before us. I would ask for a motion to go into executive session by Ms. Walker, seconded by Mr. Dunn. Yes.
Would it be possible to say the amount of the settlement? I don't think that's executive session.
I have it here. Excuse me. I think all matters concerning this, any settlement before the legislature are confidential, including the amount of any settlement.
I would argue, since it's taxpayer money, that that part would not be confidential.
Well, you know, I don't know the answer to that right now. Why don't we go into executive session where we can possibly discuss it? I would think that once the case is settled, the settlement amount is an amount of public record, unless of course the case is sealed.
Or else there's a confidentiality agreement.
Or a confidentiality agreement. Why don't we discuss it in public?
Works for me.
I'm sorry.
It works for me.
While we go into executive session. All those in favor of public session, please say aye. Opposed? Executive session. I keep saying public. Executive session.
I'm never going to vacation days are over. I know.
Yeah, I thought that was
That's all right.
Yeah. I would have gone. Look at my hair. Look at my hair. That's why everyone should be I'm thinking how many of these slides, no prices, coming on that over. Meanwhile, we have a sort that center, like plug in nuance.
You don't have any ones on it while you're out there, you know?
I don't have any hands. Thank you. Sorry, so bad. Look at all the people on the plane. It's all right.
Yeah. Hey.
So executive, we took it in, picking it up, counting numbers, you took it in.
Yes, that's all they ask. The challenge to get
They'll figure out somebody to do more.
I know.
That's right. Sir, yes, I knew
I'm gonna start pressing your buttons.
Not bothering, working hard.
Hardly working.
Like pulling teeth today, Ken.
I know.
Yes.
So it's 5:30.
Legislator Flounder, do you have any questions for us? Oh, yeah. No comment. Fifth Amendment? Fifth Amendment? Can have it all this time.
I didn't like that little comma. Comma means something else. Okay. Put a period there, I would have understood.
So confusing punctuation.
He doesn't have a chance. Thank you. Hey, now you leave it with her? Well, smile.
That's so good.
Can't make up Well, actually, that's the 8th, so I didn't get that. Before that, I worked on banks, mostly. Stop for 9 seconds. Some house. Right. My wife was in fashion business. So, and that was great. My wife is the same way. Morning, you read the
How you doing?
Yeah. But I bring those on as the kids. I don't think they're necessarily opposite, but just in case. They say something, you're like, well, it's not in this We'll get to you guys eventually. How you doing? Not bad.
That structure here, it's all residential school. They go very I get cars in the market.
And then I'll speak to, by the school.
Little past the school, they go like by the school. Two classes, the school district itself. I didn't
They were like shut down, and then something.
And they actually got it as
We have the members of the Finance Committee back in the chamber. Mr. Dunn, Ms. Walker. Okay, we are back from executive session at we now have before us clerk item 303 of 16 and item 407 of 2016. They've been moved. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Those items carried. We now have a number of bond ordinances before us. All right, I'll again move to suspend the rules. All those in favor? Well, yeah, I thought we did it for everyone. We'll do it again. Just moved by Ms. Walker, seconded by Mr. Dunn. All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye. Any opposed? Rules are suspended. I am going to call, with the minority's permission, the items in bulk for the bonds. Okay, item 413 of 16, a bond ordinance, item 414 of 16, item 417 of 2016, item 419 of 2016, item 420 of 16, item 422 of 16, item 428 of 2016, item 429 of 16, item 430 of 2016, item 431 of 2016, 432 of 16, 435 of 16, 446 of 16, 456 of 16, item 484 of 16, item 485 of 16, and 488 of 16. And also an item on the second addendum, item 502 of 16. All bond ordinances, motion by Mr. Gopal, seconded by Mr. Dunn. Those items are before us. Any discussion on these items? Any public comment? Hearing none. All those in favor of those items, please say aye. Any opposed? The items carry 4-3.
I'm abstaining on these.
On all, okay.
Yes.
The items pass 4 votes in favor, 2 votes against, and 1 abstention by Ms. Curran.
Yes, I'd just like the record to reflect that I'm abstaining now as these items move out of committee. Thank you.
Thank you. There being no further business before us, motion by Mr. Gopal to adjourn, seconded by Ms. Walker. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Next up is rules, I guess.